Welcome to Wonder World Comics channel. I'm Dennis Barger, 30-year veteran of the collectibles industry, 20-year king of Wonder World Comics. I have been in this industry for quite a long time. We are entering one of the most turbulent periods, I think, since the 90s. And I'm going to explain how we got here and how we move forward. Diamond is failing, and I'm having the best year of my career. Why? Because 4 years ago, I decided I no longer want to do the treadmill of new comic books. I decided that for me, my path could not rely solely on being a Diamond catalog store. Diamond got lazy, and that's why we're at this point in time. Every time they had an opportunity to innovate, to feed their customer base, which is the comic stores directly, they wanted to bypass those and try to get more customers on the side rather than focus on the customers that they had left. They did failed attempts to get Hastings to be a comic book hub, to get GameStop to do a comic book business model. This is not innovation for those 1,500 to 1,200 retailers. This is a way to try to bypass them and find a prettier dance partner. And that's where Diamond is right now. They forsaked one customer base to try to build another, and they've lost both. And then COVID happened. Diamond in 2019 had 100% of an ever-declining comic book industry. At the point at which they closed and shuttered their doors, which I fully supported because nothing was going to get produced for at least a month or two, and it was going to take another month or two when the switches got flipped back on for comics to start coming into Diamond. It was ridiculous for the entire industry to think Diamond was going to sit there and run their warehouses with no new comics coming in. So I feel that they did the right decision then. I feel DC didn't make the right decision in deciding to go off and pick two random retail partners to be their exclusive distributors, Discount Comic Book Service and Midtown Comics. I, as a retailer, am never going to give my money to my competition so that they can use that information and money to compete against me online. I'll never do it. And it was ridiculous for DC to think that that was going to happen. Now, a lot of retailers are locked into this Diamond catalog model. And when presented with losing DC or going over to Lunar and Midtown, they went willingly. That's fine. But now Diamond is 30% of the market share short. So they were going to have to operate on 70% of the revenue that they had in 2019 for 2020 moving forward. The other shoe is going to fall. If Marvel sees DC go off and do their own thing, Marvel's going to want to do their own thing as well. And they did. They chose Penguin Random House. They were around 40% of the entire comic market at that time, and they took that 40% and moved it over to another competitor. They weren't going to go to the same place DC did. Diamond made a lot of deals. Hey, we can still sub-distribute your DC and your Marvels. We just don't do it at such a high discount rate. And hey, we can just buy them directly from these guys, and then we can make sure that the comic retailers that don't want to switch can pay a little bit less for those same products, and we can still do that. But once again, that's an ever-decreasing percentage of an ever-decreasing market. 2021 came around. 2022, they lost Image Comics. It was not going to be good for Diamond. You have to pay for those big warehouses, you have to pay for all those employees, and you have less money to pay for all of that. I know it was bare bones over at Diamond when it came to customer service reps, etc. And it showed. The service, the quality, everything started diminishing. And the entire time, everybody at Diamond was like, all is well, remain calm. It wasn't true. And at the end of 2024, in a very quick decision, Diamond announced that they were closing their Plattsburgh warehouse, which by all measures that I had talked to, Plattsburgh was the most efficient of the warehouses. I used to be serviced out of Plattsburgh. Everybody I knew serviced out of Olive Branch had more complaints, and anytime we would have an order come out of Olive Branch, it was more prone to disasters than Plattsburgh. One of the biggest problems in the comic book industry is middlemen. Everybody sees this giant pie of money. Oh, you got the superhero movies, you got the superhero toys, you got superhero video games. Surely there's a place for me to go in there and get between two different people and make a percent off of that. Diamond was more than just a middleman. Diamond was supposed to be a partner in our success and the industry's success. And for the most part, they understood that. Occasionally, they got too big for their britches. They decided they were going to direct the industry in certain directions, rather than allow the industry to reflex into those different places. I've said it for a long time. There's a lot of things that I don't like about the comic industry. And I tried my best while being inside the comic book industry to help change those ideas, to help change that mentality. I wasn't successful because the industry was too dependent on that box of comics coming every week to ever break that habit. I say all the time, we have Pavlovian dogs as customers. They are used to coming into the comic shop every Wednesday to get new comics. And at several points in the last 5 years, those Pavlovian habits have been broken by COVID, by distribution interruptions, and now by this Diamond growing pains of closing Plattsburgh and moving everything to Olive Branch, and now with the bankruptcy. If you break the habit of those customers, you're losing business. And now Diamond has broken the habit of the 1,200 retailers of receiving that one box with all of their stuff for over 5 years now. As well as that, all of those bottom tier publishers are going to go through even more growing pains over the next 6 months to a year while Diamond is in Chapter 11. Those guys are going to seek out new ways to do it. They're going to go to Kickstarter for crowdfunding. Somebody's going to pop up as a fourth distributor for just indie comics. And that fourth distributor is going to take a lot of those back of the book Diamond customers, indie comics, and they're going to figure out a new business model for them over here. And that's going to be one more habit broken for retailers. So a lot of my friends moved to what I call the fourth market, which is live selling on platforms like Facebook, whatnot, now eBay. That's a very, very tempting business model. You can have direct to the customer interaction and not worry about having a middleman other than those platforms, you being dependent on your sales. And lastly is what you see behind me. We're going to be doing a video immediately after this one where I will describe the new concept store. It's a retro comic book concept. It's worked insanely well for me for the last 3 years. And I want you guys, the retailers, all of the guys who watch my shows, to see how this is done, how you can start a new comic book shop without being Diamond dependent, without being Lunar or Penguin Random House dependent. I honestly think this is the way forward. And I'll explain in the next video exactly on every level how this is important for the survival of the comic book store. But until then, I want to leave you with one last thought. Diamond was a monopoly for 30 years. I don't think it was a benevolent monopoly. I think it was a malevolent monopoly. When retailers would explain their problems, when publishers would explain their problems, Diamond would just say, hey, this is the way we do it. If you don't like it, you can go someplace else. Well, there was no other place. They got away with 30 years of saying, if you don't like it, you can get your comic books from someplace else, knowing there was no other place. And then for the last 4 years, there was another place. And now moving forward, Diamond has to understand they need to make amends. Maybe they need to go to an AA meeting and figure out what all of those steps are and start going through those to win back the people who no longer need them. I no longer need Diamond. I love the people who run Diamond at the top. I'm disappointed with everybody who runs Diamond in the middle. And so many of my friends are Diamond at the lower tiers. They don't get any love. I just want to send this out to Diamond and say, you have an opportunity to understand where you went wrong. You need to address that. Even when you come out of chapter 11, it is going to be a very long road to get you back to where you used to be. Thanks for tuning in. I've got another video coming up right now where I describe the new concept store, the retro comic book store, and the benefits of it. And there's even a few downsides, but it's not worth all the downsides of the old way of doing things. So join me for that. I'll see you here for another video. Thanks.